Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna. So we left last few verses in the last chapter. That is prayers by Queen Kunti. So we will just try and finish, quickly read those verses. And there is nothing much to discuss, but we will just read those verses and then move to the chapter 9 today. Let me share the screen. So Mataji, can you ask someone to read from
44 onwards?
Yes, my friend Madhakumar Prabhu. Nice to hear your voice. I was thinking. Yes.
I'm here in the background, bro.
Hari, you are the backbone. Backbone. Excellent. If you can ask someone to read from 44 to 52, and then we will move to the chapter
9. Yeah. Amit, let's just go from top of the list. Amitji. Amit Pallavi, you have?
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So if you could please read verse number 44 translation up until the end of the chapter.
Sure, I will do that.
Thank you.
Text 44. Sutta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was enchanting as his mystic power. Text 45. Thus accepting the prayers of Srimati Kunti Devi, the Lord subsequently informed other ladies of his departure by entering the palace of Hastinapur. But upon preparing to leave, he was stopped by King Yudhishthira, who implored him lovingly. Text 46. King Yudhishthira, who was much aggrieved, could not be convinced, despite instructions by great sages headed by Vyasa and the Lord Krishna himself, the performer of superhuman feats, and despite all historical evidence. Text 47. King Yudhishthira, son of Dharma, overwhelmed by the death of his friends, was aggrieved just like a common materialistic man. O sages, thus deluded by affection, he began to speak. Text 48. King Yudhishthira said, O my Lord, I am the most sinful man. Just see my heart, which is full of ignorance. This body, which is ultimately meant for others, has killed many phalanxes of men. I have killed many boys, brahmanas, well-wishers, friends, parents, preceptors, and brothers. Though I live millions of years, I will not be relieved from the hell that awaits me for all these sins. Text 50. There is no sin for a king who kills for the right cause, who is engaged in maintaining his citizens. But this junction is not applicable to me. Text 51. I have killed many friends of women, and I have thus caused enmity to such an extent that it is not possible to undo it by material welfare work. Text 52. As it is not possible to filter muddy water through mud or purify a wine-stained pot with wine, it is not possible to contract the killing of man by sacrificing animals.
Thank you, Amit Prabhu,
Hare
for
Krishna.
that, for reading that. So this chapter 8, entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti. So in this chapter, we saw how Pandavas, in the beginning of the chapter, they went to river Ganges to offer the water for the departed souls, and they performed the final rites, and they lamented, and after that, Krishna pacified them. Krishna and other sages pacified them, and then Krishna made Yudhishthir to perform some sacrifices, Ashwamedha sacrifices, or sacrifices, and then he was about to depart to Dwarka. That is Lord's place. And that time, the widow of Abhimanyu, Uttara, Abhimanyu was the son of Arjun. So the widow of Abhimanyu rushed towards Krishna, and so requested Krishna to protect from a great danger that is coming. So a weapon, Brahmastra, or a nuclear weapon, was thrown by Ashwatthama to finish the last descendant of Pandava dynasty. So basically, Ashwatthama threw to kill the embryo of Mother Uttara. And Lord Krishna, so he protected the embryo of Uttara. He is there within and without. From within, he protected the embryo, and that embryo is and is actually Parikshit Maharaj. So he saved Parikshit Maharaj from the weapon of Brahmastra, and then he was again ready to leave. That time he was stopped by Queen Kunti, and Queen Kunti offered prayers in this chapter. They are very beautiful. They are very dear to Prabhupada. In our ISKCON Sampradaya, in our line, ISKCON line, we number of devotees recite them. And the summary of our prayers was that initially she she clarifies the position of Krishna being the supreme personality of Godhead, and then she just recollects. She offers obeisances repeatedly to Krishna. Although Krishna externally is appearing as her maternal, her nephew, but she knows well that he is the supreme Lord. And then she remembers that how she and her sons were saved from a number of calamities by the Lord. She remembers all those calamities. And so those calamities were how, Bhima was saved by the poisonous cake, and then the vicious assembly where Draupadi was disrobed, and when the Pandavas were there in the wax house, it was set to fire, and that's how they were saved. In that situation also they were saved. And then was a man-eater called Hidamba. So Bhima had to fight and kill him. Then at the end there was this great battle of Kurukshetra, and a great in that Kurukshetra there were a number of great warriors like Bhishma, Karna, Drona. But even there, Arjuna and all our sons were protected, saved by the Lord. And now Lord is leaving, and at the end he protected the embryo of Uttara as well. So she was just thinking all those calamities and thinking that now you're leaving because the battle is over. So you are leaving. So let those calamities come again and again, so that I can think of you. Thinking of you means seeing you. Whenever we think, thinking is also a form of seeing. So thinking of you means seeing you. So this means there is no repetition of birth and death. And she glorifies the Lord in various ways. How Lord appears in various forms to please a number of people. And one of the prayers, very nice prayer, was that she begs Krishna that let my attraction constantly drawn towards you. Constantly drawn towards you, just as the Ganges constantly flows down towards the sea. Even when there are so many hindrances, the Ganges flows down the sea. Similarly, let my attraction constantly drawn towards you, O Krishna, not being attracted to anything else. And this is a prayer we can also offer. After that, Krishna was very pleased with her prayers, and he mildly smiled, and he was trying to leave, but he was stopped by Yudhishthir. Nobody could check him, but Yudhishthir checked and said, my Lord, you have to stay. So although Lord is independent, but he would like to obey his devotees and please his devotees. So that's why the Lord stayed a few more days, some more time in Hastinapur with Pandavas. And the last section of this chapter says how Yudhishthir was lamenting. Just like if we read Bhagavad Gita, in the first chapter, we can see Arjun lamented. How can I kill all these people? There are all my kinsmen, relatives, and teachers are there. How can I kill them? And here, so in the similar way, this is the post-war. So Yudhishthir was lamenting for for the, war, and that, they had to kill a number of people. But this is the nature of a devotee. Okay, so that's how this chapter ends, and let's move on to the next chapter. So so this chapter is entitled The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. So verses 1 to 10, please.
Anuradha Mataji, are you able to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes, I can read. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Are we able to see you?
Yes, I'm seeing it on my iPad.
Are we able to see you?
No, I have not turned my video on, Prabhuji. Do I
Be
have
nice
to?
Yeah, it'd be nice to see you read. Thank you.
Seeing devotees is a blessing. Please bless us by
Right. Shall I start reading, Prabhuji?
Yeah,
Please.
Yeah, okay.
Text 1. Sutta Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaja Yudhishthir went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhishma Dev was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. Text 2. At that time, all his brothers followed him on beautiful chariots, drawn by first-class horses, decorated with gold ornaments. With them were Vyasa and rishis like Dhumya, the learned priest of the Pandavas, and others. Text 3. O sage, amongst the Brahmanas, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, also followed, seated on a chariot with Arjuna. Thus King Yudhishthir appeared very aristocratic, like Kuvera, surrounded by his companions, the Guhyakshas. Text 4. Seeing him, Bhishma lying on the ground like a demigod fallen from the sky, the Pandava king Yudhishthir, along with his younger brothers and Lord Krishna, bowed down before him. Text 5. Just to see the chief of the descendants of King Bharata, Bhishma, all the great souls in the universe, namely the rishis amongst the demigods, brahmanas, and kings, all situated in the quality of goodness, were assembled there. Text 6 and 7. All the sages like Parvata Muni, Narad, Dhumya, Vyasa, the incarnation of God, Bradasva, Bharadvaja, and Parashrama and disciples, Vashishta, Indra, Pramada, Trita, sorry, what's the next one? Samada, Samada, Asita, Kaksivan, Gautama, Atri, Kaushika, and Sudarshana were present. Text 8. And many others, like Shukadeva Swami and other purified souls, Kashyapa and Agni-rasa, and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there. Text 9. Bhishma Deva, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. Text 10. Lord Sri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhishma Deva, and since Bhishma Deva knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Mataji. So I think all of us know, everybody present here knows who Bhishma Dev is, isn't it? We are so lucky. In the previous chapter, we had the opportunity to, hear from Kunti Maharani, Queen Kunti. And in this chapter, how lucky we are to talk about Bhishma Dev. Whenever we glorify devotees, Lord becomes so pleased. Lord becomes so pleased. And then every page of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes this point, that Lord becomes so pleased, when we glorify his devotees, or when we connect him to his devotees. So Lord is, when we discuss the Lord's devotees are there. And when we discuss the Lord's devotee, Lord is also connected. They are interconnected, isn't it? Whenever we discuss the Lord, we never glorify the Lord on his own. We glorifies the Lord with his devotees. So this is a wonderful, wonderful chapter. So Bhishma Dev, we know, like there is a famous picture I would like to show, and everyone probably has seen it. This is the famous picture. I was just mentioning, Sumedha, that the painter, how much meditation, must have done it. The painter must have done it to give those fine details. So he is Bhishma Dev here, standing on the chariot, and the Lord Krishna is rushing towards Bhishma Dev with holding a chariot wheel in his hand, and he was being stopped by Arjun. So this is in the battle of Kurukshetra. So there is another picture that. So this is the picture. It shows that Bhishma Dev was lying on the bed of arrows, and he was surrounded by Pandavas and Krishna and other sages. So how lucky Bhishma Dev is. Glorious personality. So let's discuss a little bit about who Bhishma Dev is. Bhishma Dev, he is one of the 12 Mahajans. 12 Mahajans. And that is there. There is a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I can post it here for your reference. And in that Bhishma Dev name was mentioned. 12 Mahajans. Swayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahalada Janako Bhishma Bhalir Vayasakir Vayam. There are 12 great devotees of the Lord, and one of them is Bhishma Dev. They know the truth. They are the real devotees. They know the truth according to time, place, and circumstance. In the previous life, Bhishma Dev belongs to a class of Vasu, V-A-S-U, Vasus. They were on the heavenly planets, and they belong to an administrative class. They are grouped as 8 in numbers. Ashta Vasus, they are called 8 Vasus, a class, administrative class. And once upon a time, they happened to meet a great sage called Vasishta. His name comes in Ramayana repeatedly. So this sage was going, and he had a cow called wish-fulfilling cow. In Sanskrit, we say Kamadhenu, wish-fulfilling cow. Very potent, very, very potent. So the cow can do anything and everything practically. When there was a battle between Vishwamitra, a sage called Vishwamitra, and Vasishta, the wish-fulfilling cow single-handedly defeated Vishwamitra and all his soldiers. Such powerful entity. So Ashtavasus, the 8 Vasus, and the eldest of the Vasus was known as Jew. So his wife said that, I want that cow. Can you get me? So he was forced by his wife to get that. So what he did was he also involved his brothers, the other 7 Vasus, and then they tried to snatch the cow by force. Vashishta, being a great personality, he cursed them that you don't have place here, then you should go to the earthly planet. And then they came to their senses and they begged Vashishta. And Vashishta said that the seven of the 7 brothers of yours, they will just take birth and then come return to heavenly planet immediately. But they have to go and take birth on the earth. But you who committed, who are the main culprit in this event, you have to stay there for a longer time. And you will also bereft the enjoyment of having a wife. This is one level, like, one understanding. So, okay, let's learn a couple of things. The eldest Vasu was then became Bhishma. So the common question can be asked, how come, Mahajan, we are talking about Mahajan as a great devotee. How can, you do these kind of things? So two things from this story is just to tell us on the karma kanda level, on the material level, that that if you do something bad, you will be punished. That's one understanding, and that is what is depicted here, demonstrated in this story. And there is a second principle, transcendental principle here. Lord is coming. Lord is going to perform his pastime on the earthly planet. So he brings down his own devotees. So this is an opportunity for Bhishma Dev to participate in the pastimes of Lord Krishna. That is the transcendental understanding. So of course, so we know that King Shantanu married to Mother Ganga on one condition, that he wouldn't object for anything she does. That is the condition. She can do whatever she wants. So and then when a child is born, Mother Ganga used to throw them in Ganga. So she threw 7 of her children back to in Ganga. And then Maharaj, the King Shantanu, couldn't say anything. But when the 8th child was born, he couldn't say, stay quiet. He opened his mouth. And because you opened your mouth, I'm going to leave now. And then she says that, yes, I will take this child to heavenly planet, and then I will educate him. So that 8th child was Bhishma, was born to Maharaj Shantanu and Mother Ganga. So he was educated, he was trained on heavenly planets, and also he was very, very dear to Parshuram, Lord Parshuram. So later, Mara Shantanu, after Ganga had left, then he got married to this fisherwoman. Does anybody know the name of this fisherwoman? Satyavati. Satyavati. And so from her body, there was a fragrance coming, aroma coming, and that aroma goes around 3 miles radius. So when he got married to this Satyavati, the Satyavati's father said that I can only give my daughter to you on one condition, that only the son born from the womb of my daughter should become the king, not the previous one, Bhishma. Bhishma's previous name was Devaratha. So Bhishma Dev said, no problem. I won't get married. I won't become king. I'll make sure that the children of your daughter, Satyavati, will be sitting on the throne. Just imagine, you have a plate of gulab jamun, laddu, rasgulla, so much food around you, and it is Ekadashi. Or like someone says that don't eat, how do you feel? It's difficult. I can tell my own story yesterday, what had happened. I never thought that I would tell this story. So I decided to fast as it was Ekadashi yesterday. And my fast went okay until 4 o'clock. When Bhakti returned from school, she asked me to make some chips. Lalita Preeti was busy with some work, and so I went to the kitchen. I made chips, fresh chips, and I offered to Lord Krishna. And then when they came out of the altar room, it was difficult for me. I couldn't tolerate it. Then my mind was telling no, but the hand was going like this, and then just chip automatically entered into my mouth without me knowing. So just imagine Bhishma Dev, he was surrounded by so much opulence. So many girls were around him. He was very handsome, very wealthy, very strong. And he had so much opulence. Yet he maintained this celibacy. He maintained the celibacy. So this particular vow is called Bhishma. The one who has taken a difficult vow is called Bhishma. The demigods from the heavenly planet said, wow, wonderful, Bhishma. This is a big vow that you've taken. Not easy. Sometimes, for all of us also, to continue our devotion while being in the town, while working is not easy, but we have to just carry on. And then Lord will try and help us. Okay, so that was Bhishma Dev. And then the question is asked sometime that how come, is great devotee of the Lord, how come he fought against Pandavas? Do you have this question?
Yeah.
So what is the answer?
I was going to add, Prabhu, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
The first picture you showed where he's forcing Lord Krishna to break his vow and raise a weapon. That depicts the mood Bhishma Dev was praying to Lord Krishna in. When you study the Nectar of Devotion, you understand there are 12 rasas, not just the 5 primary.
Yeah.
So Bhishma Dev was worshipping the Lord in the mood of chivalry. So his job as the Lord's servant was to give Lord pleasure in fighting.
That, yes, wonderful. And that's the reason it took the side of...
Yeah, that's one of the reasons.
One of the reasons, definitely.
He was serving that role, and giving the Lord the pleasure in fight.
Exactly. So that's the Lord wish, actually. Yes, it's the Lord wish that, he fought against the Pandavas. He's serving the Lord. Absolutely right in Chivalry Rasa. And second reason was that, you took a vow that you would protect the king. Whoever is the king, that you would protect the king. So that was his vow. But that is a secondary vow, which is, which can be, broken. Yes, for the Lord's sake. But, it's Lord's desire that, that he fight against the Lord. So that is one thing there. And there is another thing also mentioned, that Lord wants to show that however great you are, if you take the wrong side, you will never become victorious. This is another point Acharya also mentioned here. However great you are, if you take the wrong side, you will never become victorious. Vice cannot conquer virtue. Vice cannot conquer the virtue. That is the principle that Lord wants to demonstrate here. And Bhishmadev wants to serve the Lord. He's just acting for the Lord's pleasure. Okay, so having given that background, let's come to these 10 verses we discussed. So this chapter, like Sutta Goswami is speaking, Sutta Goswami mentions that the Pandavas, after the war of Kurukshetra, they went to see Bhishmadev.
Can I just ask a question there a moment, please?
Sure.
Is there another point, I don't know whether I've got this right, that God or Krishna wished to show that his devotees, in whichever terrible situation they were in, like Bhishmadev lying on the bed of arrows, they're never actually put under, if you see what I mean. Although they appear to be in great suffering, their mind and all their senses and all their abilities are still intact. Something like that?
Yes, that is definitely, we can say that principle is clearly demonstrated here. Thank you very much for bringing that up, Mataji. Appreciate that. So Pandavas, they went to see Bhishmadev. So Bhishma fell down in the battle of Kurukshetra on the 10th day of the battle. The battle took place 18 days. So on the 10th day, Bhishma fell. And when Bhishma was falling down, Arjuna shot arrows and he made a bed of arrows. So he was lying on the bed of arrows. So I don't know how painful it must be. Just imagine lying on the bed of arrows, and he had a boon that he could leave at his will. He could leave the mortal body at his will. So he was just waiting for the right time. So he just lied down. And after the battle, Maharaj Yudhishthir and his brothers, along with Krishna, they went to see Bhishmadev, who was lying on the bed of arrows. The point here mentioned is that when Yudhishthir was going to see Bhishmadev, he was very aristocrat. He was looking very opulent. So the point it mentioned here that it is for the pleasure of Bhishmadev that Lord made them dress nicely, asked them, because Bhishmadev wanted to see them as nice royal kings. So it is the pleasure of Bhishmadev, Lord made them decorated nicely. So Pandavas went there, Krishna was also there, Vasudev was there, Pandavas priest Dhaumya was there. And then upon reaching the place, Pandavas bowed down to Bhishmadev. Krishna also bowed down just to show the etiquette. And then And then immediately a number of great people came there, great rishis, brahmanas, kings, and demigods. They all came, and the list was unending. I just wrote a few number here who all came there. So by the way, in those days, there is no I Am Sangha group. Just to inform that today that there is a Bhagavatam class. So in those days, Bhishma Dev didn't have a WhatsApp or any email, any fax, any phone that he could send around that I'm leaving today. Please come and bless me. He didn't have anything to communicate, but they all came there. They all had a different communication system. They had better communication system. From now, because of COVID, we are unable to go. Many people are not able to see their own relatives when the relatives are passing within the planet. What is within the planet? Within the country. In India, people are not going from one place to another because of COVID. From only Zoom, they are saying goodbye. So when Bhishma Dev was passing, leaving his body, from different planets people came, not from that one planet. Some of the names, famous names were Narada, Dhaumya, Vyasa, Bharadwaja. Bharadwaja is from Ramayana. So he was with Lord Rama. And Parshuram. Parshuram is another incarnation of Krishna. Vashishta, he was also with Rama. Atri is the father of Dattatreya. And Kashyapa, the father of demigods. And our Shukadeva Goswami was also there. All these people, they gathered there. So how do you feel if you're surrounded by a number of devotees when you leave your body? Great. Yes, it is a festival. It is a great celebration. If devotees are around you when you're leaving your body, how nice it is. How nice it is. Just think of that moment. So we should maintain good relationship with the devotees. This is important point. That is our wealth. These maintaining good relationship with the devotee community is our wealth. What can we take with us? After all, this body is going to fall down one day. As sure as death, they say. Just a matter of time. So let us maintain that, good relationships. And then, so Bhishma Dev, he received all of them very well. He knows because he's a great devotee. So he knows these, etiquette. That's the right word. Thanks for book. So how did he could not get up, but he offered sweet words. He asked them, how are you? Like that. Some sweet words he offered. So the receiving can be done various ways: mind, body, and intelligence. So he did it with his mind, and then he worshipped. He duly worshipped Lord Krishna. He knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is another interesting point. Just Lord came to see Bhishma Dev. We will talk a little bit about that in a minute. But how great that is. What a wonderful opportunity. What a wonderful chance to have Lord in front of you when you're leaving your body. So that kind of great devotee is Bhishma Dev. So let's read some more verses and we'll make a little progress. So can we ask someone to read from verse 11 to 15?
Dhruv, are you able to read translation 11 to 15, please?
Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, everybody. Just a minute. So, text 11. Yeah.
Yes, it's on the screen.
11 to 15, please.
The sons of Maharaj Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection from their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishma Dev congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, and he was overwhelmed by love and affection. Bhishma Dev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustice you good souls suffer from being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations. Yet you are protected by the Brahmanas, God and religion. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Bandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were growing up, she suffered a great deal, also because of your actions. In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. Oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time. It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthira? The son of the demigod controlling religion, Bhima, the great fighter of the club, great bowman Arjuna, with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dhruv.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
So here, Bhishma Dev, after receiving everyone and after worshipping Lord Krishna, then he started speaking, and so he said to, he listed the various calamities that the Pandavas underwent. He listed a number of calamities, and so at the end he says that it is all because of the time factor, inevitable time factor, that all these things happen. And this time factor is nothing but Sri Krishna. Here, there is one sentence I wanted to read from 15, text 15 purport. So the last sentence here, Kala is identical with the Lord himself, and therefore the influence of Kala indicates the inexplicable wish of the Lord himself. There is nothing to be lamented when a matter is beyond the control of any human being. So all this is due to the sufferings that underwent, is due to the inevitable time factor. That's what Bhishma says. And then he glorifies Lord Krishna from verses 16 to 20. Can someone read, please? 16 to 20.
Yeah. Shailesh Prabhu, are you able to read? Shailesh Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Text 16. O King, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. Text 17. O best among the descendants of Bharata, Yudhishthir, I maintain therefore that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. You are now the appointed administrative head, and my Lord, you should now take care of those subjects which are now rendered helpless. This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer, but he is moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidentially about his glories through direct contact. O king, that personality whom, out of ignorance only, you thought to be your maternal cousins, your very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So in these verses from verse 16 to 20, that actually Bhishmadev glorifies the Lord, and that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, is the original Narayana, and great sages know him thoroughly. And he also mentioned one interest point here: even though great philosophers inquire exactly, they are bewildered. So even great philosophers can also be bewildered by the Lord. And one another point here I just wanted to mention, that he just mentions here, king, he's just mentioning King Yudhishthir. You thought him to be your cousin, but actually he's not like that. And so he acted as a counselor, he acted as a messenger, benefactor, etc. Prabhupada nicely points out in the purport that Lord Krishna, um, happy to serve his own devotees. That's why he took as a position of charioteer. He took a position of messenger, peace messenger, etc. Just to please his devotees. Okay, so from verse 21 to 23. Yes, someone else, please.
Hamshini Mataji, are you able to read 21, 22, and 23?
Hare Krishna.
Very well.
Being the absolute personality of Godhead, he is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and he is free from the false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever he does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced. Yet, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. The personality of Godhead, who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body. Is that the number that you want to...
Next one also, please, Mataji.
Thank you so much. May my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face, with eyes as red as the rising sun, is smiling, kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. These verses are very beautiful, and we may not be able to finish today the discussion on these verses. We may continue next week also, but let me see, we got a few more minutes. In verse 21, Bhishmadev says that how Lord is impartial. And in verse 22, this is the famous verse. This is, if you would like to memorize a verse from this chapter, I would recommend you can do this. 1:9:22. You can meditate on this. I'll recite. Tatapyekanta bhakteshu pasya bhutanukam yanme sum sutya jata hasakshat krishno dharshanamagataha. So here Bhishmadev is saying, although Lord is impartial to everyone, but he is partial to his own devotees. Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am impartial to everyone, but I like my devotees more. Just like I have children. I like all the children. I do not hate them. I like them but I like my own children very much. Similarly, if we become devotees of the Lord, we become his own children, very dear to him. He becomes partial to us. So, Tatapye Kanta Bhaktanam, he is saying that I am his unflinching servitor. Bhishma Devi is saying here that I am Krishna's unflinching servitor. That's why Lord Krishna is present here, although is impartial, is equal to everyone. He came in front of me. So he is indirectly telling Yudhishthira that he is not boasting himself that how great I am, but he is telling Yudhishthira that if you become unflinching devotee, if you follow the order of the Lord, if the Lord is asking you to rule the kingdom, just do it for his pleasure. Yes, then it will also happen to you. He comes to you as well when you leave the body. And he's also telling all of us, if we all become unflinching devotee of the Lord, Lord will come to give us his darshan when we leave the body. How great it is that Bhishma Dev had these opportunities. Do you remember any other occasions where Lord personally was present when the devotees were leaving their body?
Yes, true. Haridas Thakur.
Jai. You want to say in a couple of sentences?
Yeah, Haridas Thakur was, as we all know, Namacharya, chanted the holy name 22 out of 24 hours a day. And he was, for that reason, very, very dear to Lord Chaitanya when Krishna came in the form of a devotee 550 years ago. So Lord Chaitanya was present with Haridas Thakur towards the end, and he, in fact, performed the final rites ceremony himself for Haridas Thakur. And Lord Chaitanya also, after that, organized a massive feast in remembrance of the great devotee that Haridas Thakur was.
So, and another point was that Haridas Thakur was externally belonging to Muslim community. It doesn't matter which community one belongs. So that is another occasion, one occasion. There is another occasion from Ramayana.
Yeah, Jatayu.
Yes, Jatayu. Jatayu was a huge bird. He fought with Ravan when he was kidnapping Mother Sita. At that time, Lord was not around. We all know that. So he fought, and but he was very old, so he couldn't become victorious externally. And Ravana cut his wings. He was profusely bleeding. That time Lord Ram came, and Jatayu left his body in the presence of Ramchandra. And Ramchandra again performed the final rites of Jatayu. So, yeah, go on.
I was just going to add, bro, Lord Ramchandra put Jatayu in at the same level as his father. So he performed Jatayu's final rite ceremony like a son would have done. So an even greater honor.
Yeah. So here, Bhishma Dev had the same opportunity that Lord is personally present in front of him. There are a number of points, but at 8 o'clock, we will continue this discussion in the next class. So I humbly request that please give this 1 hour, solid 1 hour, and to read, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and also take some time, just 10-15 minutes every day. Go and please read them, or try and explain to someone else or anybody, anything like that. Please make best use of it. It's a wonderful opportunity. So thank you all for kindly attending. I think Madhakumar Prabhu, you want to make a little announcement about these books?
Yeah, just a quick update. Thank you to everyone who supported distribution of Bhagavad Gita at the hotel in Blackpool. I think we've almost put together 90 copies. Another 10
Wow.
copies need to be sponsored. And just to keep a lookout, keep in touch with your friends and families. The ISKCON Manchester calendar is currently in print. So we'll shortly have copies available. So a good time to give out some transcendental gifts to your friends and family. Just keep in touch with them, keep checking on their well-being, and we'll be in touch as soon as the calendars are available. That's it. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Just to let you know that I have uploaded a recording of Kunti Maharani prayers, all the prayers I've recited and uploaded onto the channel. If anybody is willing to hear or willing to learn, they can do so going there. Okay. So thank you very much, and Hare Krishna. Appreciate your
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful lecture.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Hare
Nandara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Ki
Srila
jai.
Prabhupada
Gaur
ki
Bhaktivinoda
jai.
ki
Jai
jai.
Gaura Premanandi. Hari
Hari
Hari.
Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol. Hari Bol.
Careful,